Idris Karam stepped out of his expensive black Mercedes car, the gleam of its polished surface reflecting the city lights. He adjusted his tailored suit, a move he usually did before going into one of his multi-billion naira business meetings, a habit he had formed over years of high-stakes negotiations. As he reached for his phone to check the time, something across the street caught his attention, pulling him out of his routine. Across the street was a woman, a beggar with unkempt hair and tattered clothes on the roadside, her frail frame barely visible under the layers of dirt and hardship. Something about this woman seemed familiar. Idris squinted his eyes, trying to remember where he knew her from, his heart pounding unexpectedly in his chest. Suddenly, the woman looked up. Their eyes met across the busy A street, and the noise of the bustling city seemed to fade into the background. In that instant, Idris's world spun out of control. Those eyes. I would know them anywhere, he whispered to himself, his breath hitching slightly. Could this be Layla? He thought to himself, a cold shiver running down his spine. Layla's eyes widened in shock as she recognized Idris. She got up hastily, her frail body moving with unexpected speed, and disappeared into the crowd, her bare feet barely making a sound on the pavement. Idris stood there, frozen in disbelief, his fingers tightening around the phone in his hand. He walked into the office and sat, staring at the sky through his glass office. His mind kept replaying that moment on the street, the way Layla had looked at him before vanishing. At 40, Idris Karam was very well accomplished. He had built a multi-billion naira tech empire from scratch, his determination and strategic mind making him one of the most influential men in the country. His face was on every famous business magazine in the country. His name was mentioned in every boardroom. He had everything he ever wanted, but seeing Layla homeless and destitute had shaken him to his core. The weight of his success suddenly felt heavier than ever. How did this happen to Layla? She was very brilliant and very ambitious, he thought to himself, his fingers tapping against his desk absent-mindedly. He remembered how they used to talk about all their big dreams of changing the country together, sitting under the old mango tree in his childhood home. They had both been dreamers once, full of hope and determination. What happened with Layla? He wondered, frustration and guilt creeping into his thoughts. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. His receptionist at his company, Lola, informed him that his next appointment was ready. Idris told her to cancel all his appointments for the day, something he had never done before. Lola looked surprised but nodded. In the 5 years she had worked for him, Idris had never cancelled any meeting, not even during his worst flu or when he lost a major deal. Idris grabbed his coat and walked out. He needed to find Layla. I must know what happened to Layla, he said to himself, his voice firm with determination. He couldn't bear the thought of Layla being out there alone, struggling all by herself. He walked into the busy street and began scanning for her, the sounds of honking cars and street vendors barely registering in his mind. As he moved past a lot of people, their childhood memories together kept coming up in his mind like flashes of a forgotten dream. How did I forget Layla? How did I let her out of my sight? How did I not know she was going through a hard time? Idris beat himself up with these questions. He felt very guilty because Laila was the one person that believed in Idris's dreams when they were younger. Each time he told people about his wild dream of building a tech empire, they used to laugh at him, reminding him that he was just a village boy looking for things that were beyond him. But Layla never laughed. She had always encouraged him, telling him he was meant for greatness. Idris had become so focused on his own success in building an empire that he forgot about the one person that was so important to him. Tears filled up in his eyes, but he quickly blinked them away. He really wanted to find his childhood love so he could fix everything that went wrong. When they were growing up, Layla's home life was not good at all. Her parents fought and argued every day, the walls of her home echoing with their endless battles. Layla would run to Idris's house to get away from the chaos in her home. There, they would sit and dream of building a better life and a better future together, sharing whispered dreams under the dim glow of a kerosene lamp. But their high school graduation day was the last time he ever saw her. After high school, Idris had a full scholarship to study abroad, while Layla was not so lucky. She had admission to the university, but her parents didn't have the money to send her to school. Idris was sad that he had lost touch with the one person that believed in him and encouraged him. He was determined to find Layla and make up for all the suffering she had gone through. Idris continued his search through the city streets, hoping to find the woman who had once been his whole world. When he was abroad, he wrote letters to Layla often, but Layla was not writing back as often. Her emails were short, as if Idris was bothering her. He had assumed she was just busy. Now, he wondered if she had been struggling even back then. After university, Idris graduated top of his class and came back to Nigeria to establish his tech company. He became very successful, and that kept him too busy to remember anything or anyone. Meanwhile, Layla's life had taken a drastically different turn. After high school, unable to afford university, she had taken a job at a local buka to help support her mother, who was sick. Her dreams of changing the world were slowly replaced by the harsh realities of low-wage work and mounting medical bills. The ambition in her eyes had been dimmed by struggle. From the shadows, Layla watched Idris's rise from afar. She was so happy for him, but a small part of her had hoped she would be by his side when he achieved it. As her mother's condition worsened, Layla's life became a cycle of work, hospital visits, and sleepless nights. She took on multiple other jobs so she could afford all the tested medications that were prescribed to her mother. There was no time for dreams. Survival became her only focus. When her mother finally passed away, Layla was left with a lot of debt. She sold everything they had, and nothing was left. She couldn't even pay for the small bedroom they had rented. With so much frustration, she gave up on life and found herself on the streets of Lagos. As Idris walked the streets of Lagos searching for Layla, he had no idea of the hardship she had endured. All he knew was that he had to find her. The guilt of his own success, while Layla was homeless, weighed heavily on him. He spent hours searching the areas where he'd seen her, showing her picture to other people in that area. Someone recognized the picture and directed Idris to where he could find Layla. The streets here were dirty, buildings crumbling, homeless people laying all around the ground, their faces plastered with the same desperation he had seen in Layla's eyes. Idris truly began to understand the magnitude of what had happened to Layla. This wasn't just a temporary setback, this was a failure in the system. This reminded him how lucky he had been and how easy it is for anyone to become poor and destitute. As he stood there, feeling the harsh reality of life on the streets, littered with homeless people and a lot of suffering, Idris felt a profound shift. His own success, wealth, and power meant nothing if he could not use it to help those who need it. Idris was determined to find Layla, no matter how long it took him. As nightfall came, he was so tired of walking around. He refused to go home. He found a bench near a dimly lit alley and laid there to rest, the cold seeping into his bones as he stared up at the night sky. As he sat up in the morning, something shocking happened. As he looked up into a crowd of homeless people, he saw Layla. Her figure was slightly hunched, her eyes darting nervously. He got up, grabbed his coat, and ran towards her, calling her name, his voice cutting through the morning air. Layla heard her name and turned around to see Idris. As soon as she saw him, she took off running. She ran into a crowd of morning commuters, her tattered clothes blending with the moving figures. Idris was not going to allow Layla to get away from him anymore. He pushed past the commuters and chased down Layla while screaming for her to wait. He was determined to find her and help. He ran until he caught up to her. He grabbed her blouse and they both fell on the ground, the impact knocking the breath out of them. "I just want to talk to you, Layla. Please stop running." He breathed, heavy and fast, his grip loosening slightly. Layla laughed bitterly. "Oh, you want to help me, like you helped me all those years ago. Where were you when I suffered? Where were you when my mom died? Where were you when I became homeless?" she asked, her voice rising with each word. The accusation hit Idris like a physical blow, his chest tightening with regret. "I didn't know, Layla," Idris replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "Oh, you didn't know because you didn't care. You were busy becoming a billionaire," she responded very harshly, crossing her arms as she glared at him. Idris held her shoulders and looked into her eyes. "That's not true, Layla. I never forgot about you. I tried to stay in touch, but you never replied to my letters. I searched for you when I returned, but I had no idea where to look." Idris felt tears in his eyes. "I'm sorry, Layla. I'm so sorry. But please, let me make it right. Let me help you now. I don't want your help you now. I don't want your help, Idris. I don't want your guilt or your pity. Just leave me alone. Go back to your perfect life and forget about me because that is what you're good at," Layla said, her voice breaking slightly. She turned around and walked away, leaving Idris standing there, devastated. But Idris was not one to give up easily. Layla's words had hurt him deeply, but they also fueled his determination. He didn't care if she wanted his help or not, he was going to help her. He began to look for ways he could help Layla and all the other homeless people in that area. For the first time in years, Idris felt a sense of purpose beyond growing his company and increasing his wealth. He got in touch with some builders and paid them to build a homeless shelter where homeless people could sleep, eat, and have job training. He made sure it was in the same area where he had found Layla. As he worked, Idris kept an eye out for Layla. Sometimes he would see her begging around his office, and it pained him to see how much she had changed. After the building was commissioned, Idris sent his workers to invite all the homeless people in Layla's area. They all came in to get some food, a place to sleep, and registered to be trained in different skills. Layla came with them, not knowing that Idris had built that because of her. Layla had registered to train in tech. She was very good at it, her sharp mind quickly grasping the concepts. 6 months later, she was great at programming and won a spot to intern in Idris's company. Idris kept an eye on her but didn't approach her so she wouldn't run away and reject the help. One day, while working in the office, he overheard people talking about how Idris had built the homeless shelter and helped a lot of people from the streets. Layla was shocked to hear this about Idris. She had always thought having money had changed him into a monster, but she was wrong about him. Layla walked into Idris's office to confront him. "Did you build a shelter and help people because of your guilt?" she asked harshly, her arms crossed as she stared him down. "No, Layla, I didn't only do it for you. I did it for everyone," Idris said, his gaze steady. "So why did you decide to do this now, after all these years?" she asked, her voice quieter this time. "Because when I came to look for you, for the first time in my life, I saw how many people were suffering, and I realized how lucky I have been. I needed to use my wealth and resources to solve problems for other people, not only to make myself rich," he answered sincerely. Layla wanted to stay angry and hold on to bitterness, but looking into Idris's eyes, she saw genuine remorse. She saw the boy she had once loved, the one who had believed in her all those years ago. "I don't know if I can forgive you," Layla said softly. "I know," Idris responded. "I don't expect you to forgive me today or ever. But please, let me try to make things right, not just for you, but for everyone in your situation." She informed him that she wasn't the same girl he knew 20 years ago. Because of all the things she had been through, she was cold, bitter, and angry. Idris nodded and guaranteed her that he would do everything in his power to make things right with her. Idris walked towards her and gave her a warm hug, feeling her hesitation before she slowly accepted it. She continued to intern at Idris's company while enrolling in university to study computer engineering. Idris became a huge support for her, giving her a full-time position and paid her enough to take care of all her needs. She volunteered at the homeless shelter and helped mentor other people that came in. Together, Layla and Idris started an organization and built more homeless shelters in different areas. They expanded the skill training program for more children and youth and provided scholarships for people who could not afford to go to school. Together, they created a better community for people that desperately needed help. 3 years later, Idris proposed to Layla, and they got married in a beautiful ceremony, surrounded by friends and family. Life can change in an instant, and the people we cherish today may not always be in the same situation tomorrow. Success and wealth mean nothing if we forget the people who once believed in us and supported us. True fulfillment comes not just from personal achievements, but from using our blessings to uplift others. Let us always be mindful of those in need and strive to make a difference in our communities. Thank you for watching my channel. Stay tuned for more inspiring and meaningful stories. But just when they were about to leave the room, something unexpected happened. Bees started coming out of the calabash. They were stinging them. They ran out all the way to the village square and right there in front of everyone, including Mina Laney's mother, started confessing. Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by lush green hills and fields of maize, there lived a girl named Mina. She had been deaf and mute since she was born. Mina's life was hard. Her father died in a big fire incident long ago. People blamed Mina for her father's death because she was the one cooking the night that their house got ablaze, but no one really knew what happened. Mina lived with her stepmother and stepsister Lainey. They had a big farmland left by Mina's father with rows of yams, cassava, and vegetables growing under the warm sun. They lived well, but Mina didn't. She had to do small jobs every day. Mina worked hard. She fetched water for people in the village, washed their clothes by the stream, and did more jobs just to get money to feed herself because her stepmother wouldn't cater for her. Despite all this hard work, when Mina came back home in the evening, she still had to cook for her stepmother and Lanny. They just sat on the veranda sipping tea, happy to be taking advantage of Mina's disabilities. Mina couldn't say anything. She couldn't hear or speak, but she was kind and did her work. Sometimes when Mina went to the village, people looked at her. Some felt sorry for her. They knew she was a good girl, but some believed she caused the fire. They whispered when she passed by, but poor Mina couldn't defend herself because no one could understand her. After all, she couldn't speak. The whispers felt like heavy stones, but Mina kept her head up and walked with quiet dignity. One night, Mina had a dream. She saw the night of the fire. There was a shadow near the house, but it was hard to see who it was. This dream came to Mina, often haunting her with the same blurred images. It was like a puzzle she couldn't solve. Mina's life was not easy, but she didn't give up. She was strong and kind. Even with all the hard work and how people treated her, she kept going. Mina hoped that one day things would get better. One day, Mina and her stepsister Lani went to the stream. They needed to fetch water. The stream was where everyone in the village got their water, so it was a busy place with people coming and going. The sound of water splashing and children playing filled the air. At the stream, they saw an old woman. She was trying to lift a heavy calabash full of water. It looked too heavy for her. Lainey saw the woman, but didn't want to help. She just wanted to get her water and go back home. But Mina was different. She saw the old woman struggling and felt sorry for her. Mina went to the woman to help. She didn't think twice about it. She took the heavy calabash from the old woman, her small hands gripping the slippery gourd tightly. Lainey was not happy. She told Mina they didn't have time for this and that. If they got home late, she would tell her mother that Mina was playing in the stream. But Mina, who couldn't hear, didn't listen. She proceeded to help the woman. The old woman was so thankful. She smiled at Mina, her wrinkled face lighting up like the morning sun. Mina felt happy she could help. The old woman then told Mina something special. Using her hands to communicate with Mina, she said the calabash was magical. It could grant wishes. Mina didn't believe it at first, but the woman insisted. She gave the calabash to Mina as a gift for her kindness. Mina didn't know what to say. She just held the calabash looking at it, its smooth surface gleaming under the sunlight. The old woman then told her that when she is alone, she should open the calabash and make a wish. Anything she wished for, she would get. Mina thought about it, but before she could say anything, the woman was gone. It was like she vanished into thin air, leaving behind only the faint scent of jasmine. Mina went back home with Lani. She carried the magical calabash carefully, like it was a fragile treasure. Lani was curious about it. She asked Mina what the old woman said, but Mina couldn't tell her. She couldn't speak. She just showed Lani the calabash and smiled. Lani got more curious. She didn't understand why the old woman gave Mina the calabash, but Mina couldn't explain. She just had a feeling that this calabash was important. When they got home, Lani told her mother everything. She spoke fast, her eyes bright with excitement. She said Mama Mina got a calabash. It was given to her by an old woman at the stream. Her mother's eyes grew wide. She started to smile, a sly grin spreading across her face. They both thought of the same thing. They wanted that calabash. Mina came home later. She had the calabash with her. She was quiet like always, but she had a small smile. She felt happy about the calabash. She didn't know Lainey had told their mother. Lainey and her mother waited. When Mina put down the calabash, they took it. They were fast. Mina turned around and the calabash was gone. She saw Lainey and her mother with it. Then her stepmother asked, "Where did you get this beautiful calabash? And what is its purpose? And what is its purpose?" Mina's heart started to race. She felt sad and afraid. She wanted to cry, but she didn't. She knew if she didn't tell the truth, her stepmother would beat her. So she explained using sign language with her hands. "It is a magical calabash. I got it from an old woman at the stream. It can grant wishes." Eager to make use of the magical calabash for themselves, Lainey and her mother went to their room. They were excited. They opened the calabash, its surface gleaming faintly under the dim oil lamp. They wished for money, jewels, and many things, but nothing happened. They tried again. Still nothing. They exchanged confused glances and grew really mad. The room grew eerily silent, except for the faint rustle of the evening wind outside. They didn't understand what was going on. But just when they were about to leave the room, something unexpected happened. A low buzzing sound grew louder and louder. Bees started coming out of the calabash. They were stinging them. They screamed, dropping the calabash, and ran out all the way to the village square. And right there, in front of everyone, including Mina Laney's mother, started confessing. Her voice cracked as she admitted, "I was the one who set the house on fire when Mina's father died." Gasps spread through the crowd. She continued, "I was behind Mina's mother's death too. And I was the one who made Mina deaf and mute when she was born." Her voice trembled. "I used a charm from an herbalist." The villagers murmured in shocked disbelief, etched on their faces. Mina stood there sad, crying silently. But what nobody knew was Mina had already opened the calabash before she got home. Right after she left the old woman, she whispered her wish into it, a wish to be able to speak and hear. The memory of her quiet prayer to the calabash played in her mind. And then, in front of everyone, Mina started to speak. Her voice was clear, startlingly so. Her words were perfect, every syllable falling like soft raindrops on thirsty soil. The villagers couldn't believe their ears. Her stepmother and Lainey were frozen in shock, their faces pale. The villagers listened to Mina, their eyes wide. They were surprised. Some couldn't believe what they were hearing. Mina stood there talking to everyone. Her hands trembled slightly, but her words flowed with strength. She told them all about the years of mean treatment she got from her stepmother. Her words were touching, and the villagers listened intently. They could see her pain. They could see her pain. They could feel it. Her stepmother and Lainey, they were ashamed standing there with everyone looking at them, judgment heavy in the air. Mina's time had come. She felt sad but also relieved. She had been quiet for so long. Now she was speaking out. She told them everything. She told the villagers about her stepmother's cruelty. Her words flowed like a river that had been held back for too long, rushing and unrelenting. The villagers were angry at the stepmother and Lainey. They wanted justice. They supported Mina. They said they would help her. They would make things right. Mina's stepmother and Lainey were taken away. They would face the village elders. Mina stood there surrounded by the villagers. They were cheering for her. Some women came forward and hugged her, whispering their apologies. They said sorry for not believing her before. Mina felt a weight lift off her. She had been alone for so long, but now she had the whole village with her. It was a moment of vindication for Mina. After years of silence and suffering, she was finally heard and believed. Her wish to speak and hear had not only given her a voice, but had also unveiled the truth, liberating her from the chains of lies and deceit. You see, this story teaches us that no matter how difficult the circumstances, inner goodness and truth will always prevail. It also highlights the importance of not judging others based on appearances or disabilities. This story teaches us a powerful lesson about the strength of kindness, patience, and truth. Despite Mina's hardships and the cruelty she faced, her pure heart and perseverance ultimately revealed the truth and brought justice. It reminds us never to judge others based on appearances, disabilities, or rumors, as everyone carries their own story and deserves compassion. The story also shows that while justice may be delayed, it will always prevail when truth and goodness are on your side. Thank you for watching my channel. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more captivating and inspiring stories. Stay tuned for more amazing videos filled with lessons and entertainment. See you in the next one. A long time ago in the village of Akia, there was a maiden named Amma who was the first daughter of Chief Adu. Unlike her younger sister, Ajua, Amma had no friends or suitors. No one wanted to be associated with her because of her bow head. Even her parents disliked her and cherished her younger sister. Right from her childhood days, Amma's mother preferred to lock her in whenever she had an outing to attend. During various village festivals, Amma's parents would buy new attires for everyone in their household except Amma. Her father would say, "With what head would you show off these beautiful clothes and beads? Amma, just stay home and feed the goats." Amma grew up in a community that hated her for a condition that wasn't her fault. This condition, known as alopecia in the modern world, made the villagers see her as a curse and avoid her at all costs. They believed that her baldness was a sign of bad luck and that anyone who associated with her would suffer the same fate. Wherever she went in the village, people would mock her. "She's so ugly, she must be a witch. She sucks blood for survival," they would say. These and more horrible words were said to Amma by the villagers. Amma grew up with a damaged self-esteem. She was unloved, so she had no love to give. The only good thing that gave her peace was her voice. Oh, her singing! was like that of a diva. Whenever she felt sad or hurt by the mockery from the people, Amma would quietly find a spot near the Ioko tree and sing her heart out. Her voice was like a sweet melody, enchanting and captivating. Whenever she sang, the birds would stop chirping and the wind would cease to blow as if in awe of her talent. Sometimes a few curious children would sneak closer to listen, but they would run away before Amma noticed. But unfortunately, even her beautiful voice couldn't earn her the love and acceptance of her fellow villagers. Even the adults in the village would avoid her as if her condition was contagious. Amma longed to have friends and be accepted by her peers. She dreamed of one day finding true love and starting a family, but she knew that this would never be possible with her current appearance. So, she made a decision. She would pack her things and head to another village to start a new life away from this group of people that hated her. It sounded so much like a good idea to her, and she immediately went into the house to start packing. Little did she know what was about to happen to her. Late into the night, Amma started heading towards the forest to begin her journey. She trekked for long hours, and at a point she needed to stop and rest. In the forest, she was about to take a seat on the ground when she noticed a hut. Happily, she approached the hut with the thought of resting a little in it, till dawn, unknowing to Amma that the old popular and powerful witch who lived on the outskirts of the village owned this hut. As she opened the door, the witch peered out at Amma with her piercing eyes. "What do you want, child?" the witch asked. Amma was startled and almost lost her balance. She immediately recognized the witch because of her green eyes and yellow lips. Her father had told her scary tales of the witch when she was young. Amma quivered with fear and remembered her father's words. The witch was known to have powerful magic and was rumored to be able to grant any wish. Her father had told her this. There and then, Amma decided that the heavens had sent her a solution to all her problems. She thought to herself, maybe she will grant my wish of having hair. I can finally have suitors. I will become beautiful. This and more thoughts crept into Amma's mind. Her fear disappeared, and she had a big, happy face. The witch asked in a croaky voice again, "What do you need from me, child?" Amma instantly explained her wish to the witch, begging for her to help make hair grow on her head. The witch nodded and told Amma that she could grant her wish, but there would be a price to pay. Desperate to change her appearance, Amma agreed without hesitation. The witch handed Amma a potion and told her to drink it before the next sunrise. Amma decided to head back home since her story was about to change for the better. So she journeyed back to the village, and at dawn she reached home safely. Quickly, Amma drank the potion, then went to bed with a sense of excitement and anticipation. The next morning, Amma woke up and ran to the mirror, hoping to see a head full of beautiful hair. But to her horror, she saw that her hair had grown, but it was long and stringy, and it looked more like vines than hair. Filled with regret, Amma went to confront the witch. But when she reached the witch's hut, she found that the witch was gone, leaving behind only a note that read, "I am the key to unlock your heart. Embracing flaws is where I start. In loving myself, I find the key to true happiness and being free." Amma soon discovered that her new hair had a life of its own. It would move and writhe like snakes. The villagers were now even more afraid of her and avoided her even more. They thought she had become a monster. Even Amma's parents were also terrified of her and refused to let her into their home. She was forced to live in a small abandoned cottage at the edge of the village. She would spend her days in loneliness and despair, regretting her decision to seek the witch's help. At night, her hair would glow faintly, casting eerie shadows in her small, rundown home. She would often sit by a dimly lit oil lamp, tracing the words of the witch's note and wondering how she could ever find peace again. Years went by, and Amma's hair continued to grow longer and more uncontrollable. She became known as the witch's cursed girl, and no one dared to come near her. Her house was on the outskirts of the village, surrounded by wildflowers and towering trees, making her isolation even more pronounced. Until one fortunate morning, a handsome musician called Kwame visited Amma's village to perform at festivals. After his performance, he decided to visit the popular Amma and see her vine like hair for himself. On getting to her house, he knocked on Amma's door. Amma was shocked to know someone was in the compound, and with so much confusion, she asked what might that be, animal or human. Quame answered, saying, "My name is Quam. Please, may I come in?" Amma rushed outside with her vine-like hair swaying behind her. She was immediately shocked to see a very handsome and elegant-looking man before her, his smile radiant like the morning sun. She asked why he had come to see her, and Kwam explained he had heard so much about her and wanted to see her in person. He said he found her fascinating and even more beautiful than it was told, and so their friendship began. Quam would come almost every day to see Amma, often bringing his guitar to play soothing melodies for her. Amma, in turn, would always prepare delicious meals before his arrival. This went on for months before one afternoon, on one of Kwam's visits, feeling close enough to Amma, Kwam decided to encourage her to embrace her, to encourage her to embrace herself. He told her how beautiful she looked and how anyone would be so lucky to be her friend. Amma laughed out loud. Amma laughed out loud and said, "Quam, you don't have to lie. Why would anyone like a tree-headed person like me?" Quam replied, saying, "Anyone would like a tree head because it is your tree head, Amma. Tree heads look charming because it is on you, Amma. Anything Amma has is just perfect." With tears rolling down her face, Amma was filled with so much emotion because no one had ever said such beautiful words to her, not even her parents. After they had this conversation, Quam and Amma headed into the village. Immediately, the villagers saw her and they started whispering and gossiping as usual. "What is the witch doing here?" some said. Amma heard their mean words and wanted to run back to her house, but Quam held her and encouraged her to keep walking. "You have to face your fears," Quam said to Amma. "For how long will you keep hiding in the forest? Let it end today, and don't worry, I will hold your hand through it all." With these words of motivation, Amma gained the confidence to keep walking, and before she knew it, they had visited every corner of the village and even went to the market to get food ingredients. They returned to Amma's house and prepared pounded yam and vegetable soup. They enjoyed the hot meal under the beautiful night sky, the stars twinkling above them like diamonds. After their meal, she thanked Quam for helping her overcome this fear. For weeks, they kept going into the village together, with Amma feeling less and less ashamed of herself. One morning, Quam came around to go into the village with Amma, like they usually did, but Amma stopped him and said, "I would like to go into the village alone today." Quam was so happy to hear this and promised her He would prepare the best Aussie soup for her before she got back. Amma walked into the village with so much confidence. She greeted the gossips, visited the village square, and planted her vine like hair with so much pride. The marketplace was bustling with energy, and she even stopped to chat with a trader selling colorful beads.